So on this video, I am going to do an example of an application problem where there's a system of two equations. And this is a pretty standard problem that you may have seen before. 12 years ago, Jim was twice as old as Kristen. 16 years ago, Jim was 3 times as old as Kristen. And how old are Kristen and Jim now? So there's two different sets of information. Each one gives you an equation. So first of all, you need to declare your variables. So since it asked how old they are now, I'll just call J Jim's age now, and I'll call K Kristen's age now. I'm not saying K equals Kristen, or J equals Jim. That makes no sense. I don't say K equals Kristen's age and J equals Jim's age, because there's 3 different ages for each of them that we're talking about here. There's 12 years ago, there's 16 years ago, and there's now. So you have to be specific. This is one of the key to being able to do word problems, is when you declare a variable, which you should always do unless you have a graph in your some kind of picture and you're labeling a picture, which is basically doing the same thing. You have to be specific about what the meaning of each of the variables is and write them down. I can't tell you how many times a person tells me they can't do a word problem. I have no idea where to start. And as soon as I tell them to write the things down and force them to do it, then they can do the problem. It's frustrating to watch. Okay, write these down. Okay, and then you just read what it says. 12 years ago, Jim was twice as old as Kristen. Okay, so I want, how old was Jim 12 years ago? Forget the rest of it. Just how old was he 12 years ago? His age now minus 12. See, I can just read it right off there. Well, that's his age now. 12 years ago, it was J minus 12. And I just wrote out what it means. Jim's age 12 years ago. And then I need to know Kristen's age 12 years ago. Well, that's going to be K minus 12. And I write it out. It equals Kristen's age 12 years ago. And then J minus 16 is Jim's age 16 years ago. And K minus 16 is Kristen's age 16 years ago. So I have all these ages. That's all the 6 different ages. Now, what do I do with them? Well, you have to read what it says. 12 years ago, Jim was twice as old as Kristen. So you take Jim's age 12 years ago, right here, is twice as old as Kristen. So J minus 12 equals 2 times the quantity K minus 12. Right? And then the second bit of information, 16 years ago, Jim is 3 times as old as Kristen. So J minus 16 equals 3 times K minus 16. That gives me 2 equations, 2 unknowns. So it's a system of equations. I can solve them. So first I would distribute the 2 and the 3, right? And then combine the constants. And I put the J's on the left and all the constants on the right. And I got J equals 2K minus 12 and J equals 3K minus 32. And then I just do substitution. So it's going to be 2K minus 12 equals 3K minus 32. Okay, subtract the 2K from both sides and add the 32 to both sides. And I get 20 equals K, or K equals 20. So that's Kristen's age now, right? See, K is Kristen's age now. And that's what they asked for. But they also want Jim's age now. So I need to know what J is. It's Jim's age now. So how do I find that? Just plug 20 into either equation here, and they should both give you the same answer. In fact, you might try both just to make sure they both give you the same answer. Otherwise, you did it wrong. So I put it into the first one. since that had smaller numbers. I just like the smaller numbers. Put 20 in there, and I get J equals 2 times 20 minus 12, which is 28. So Kristen is 20, and Jim is 28. Now look at the problem and see if that makes any sense. 12 years ago, Jim was twice as old as Kristen. So how old were they both 12 years ago? Well, Jim was 12 years ago, he was 16, and Kristen 12 years ago, Kristen 12 years ago, sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. 12 years ago, Kristen was 8. So Jim was 16 and Kristen was 8, so Jim was twice as old as Kristen. Now 16 years ago, Jim was 12 and Kristen was 4. So Jim was 3 times as old as Kristen. So it checks out. Right? So that's the answer. Oh, and then I forgot I wrote that all out. Right? And then 16 years ago, K equals 4, J equals 12. So Jim is 3 times as old as Kristen, which checks. Bingo.